Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Lucia and y'all are here for the tea, so we're gonna get right into it.
Hello stranger, it's been a minute since we last kicked.
Before I start the story time, I would like to take a moment to say that this crew neck, it says Queen. It's from Missouri Closet and I'm currently wearing a size small. Also, I would like to take this moment to sincerely apologize to the city girls. Y'all, during this whole situation, I feel like I was trying my best to be empathetic and understanding, and it wasn't necessary. It was a waste of time. It was a waste of energy. So I feel like I lost a lot of city girl points, and I sincerely want to apologize to my girlies. I hope you guys forgive me. I am so sorry. I would like to say that this is part 1 of the story time, so there's a lot more information that will be coming up in other parts. Additionally, I will be giving nicknames to all the people involved in this story time, and there is a lot of people. The situation is a lot. Let me see if I'm missing anything. So I have a notes app where I just have like the timeline of like the events that happen within like this whole situation. It's also to help me like, just stay on track and not trail off too much. So during this time, I was living with 2 other roommates and they happen to be sisters. And the older sister, we're gonna call her Homie Hopper. The second sister, we're going to call her Spy. And then there were boys that were also involved in the story time and they lived in a house with each other. So the first boy, we're gonna call him Sassy. The second boy, we're gonna call him Dumbo. The third boy, we're gonna call him Brown. The fourth, we're gonna call him Razzle. And then and then the guy that I allegedly paid to date me, we're gonna call him Delusional. And then last but certainly not least, my friend of 6-7 years, we're gonna call her Pick Me. Pick Me and I, we met in high school and we went to like the same church, and we just bonded and built a small friendship. And then she is 1 year behind me, so during the time that I was a freshman in college, she was a senior in high school. And she used to see like me having fun in college through like my Snapchat stories. And I remember she had specifically told me like, you look like you're having so much fun. I think I'm gonna come to WSU. We're gonna be roommates. It's gonna be so much fun. And then within our friendship, like, I'm not gonna sit here and act like, oh, I was like the most perfect friend to her and like I did absolutely nothing wrong. No, there was definitely moments when maybe I shouldn't have said, some of the things I said. Maybe I shouldn't have did something, like I'm not a perfect person. But I will like to emphasize that anytime that she would come to me and tell me, you know what, Lucy, like when you said that, you hurt my feelings. When you did that, you hurt my feelings. I would always apologize to this girl. And then to start off the story time, I'm going to be telling you guys about the Puerto Rico trip that I took for my friend's birthday. This was around the time that Pick Me had graduated from college, and I remember I had gone to her graduation. I bought her flowers and stuff like that, and then, her family took her out to lunch and I was there, and she had entered this phase now where she was applying for jobs, and I had been there. I know the struggle, the job market, hard, I know the struggle. This was also around the time frame when my friend's birthday was coming up, and he reaches out to me and he's like, hey, like I would like for you to come to Puerto Rico to celebrate my birthday with me, all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm there. And I remember like I had called Pick Me and I'm like, oh my god, girl, like I'm going to Puerto Rico, like I was so excited. And then I just remember thinking, oh my god, like I want to experience this with you, like you have to come to Puerto Rico with me, like do you want to come? And I knew like this would be something that she would look forward to, because like I said, she was in the phase where she was applying for jobs, recently graduated. I knew like she was stressed out, and this is going to be something that she can look forward to. I know she's the type of person where she likes to plan outfits for trips, and she likes to look her best, and she likes to, think about the content she's going to create, like all of that stuff. Like I knew my friend. I quickly asked her, I was like, hey, like do you want to come with me? Like I feel like, it's going to be even more fun if you're there. And she's like, yes. And I'm telling her, okay, cool, like of course I have to go ask my friend if it's okay for you to come, like I need permission. I go ahead, I ask my friend for permission, and he's like, yeah, like she can come, like no problem. I'm like, yes. And then around this time, I started noticing like very weird energy when it came to the trip. For example, mind you, my roommate, Homie Hopper, like she knew like about the trip and stuff like that. And I want y'all to pay attention to that information. Specifically remember, Sassy also knew about the trip. And it's because Sassy had come over during his lunch break, and I was hanging in the kitchen situation with Homie Hopper and Sassy, and I was basically asking Sassy, you know, like, what are you doing for your birthday? Because it was around the same time, and then he had like mentioned Puerto Rico, and I'm like, oh, wow, like I'm already going to Puerto Rico. I remember another situation when I was hanging with Homie Hopper and Dumbo. Oh, and I don't know how like the topic came up, but it was something along the lines of Homie Hopper saying, you know this girl is going to leave us. Don't even mind her. She's going to leave us. She's going to Puerto Rico. She asked me, she was like, how come you didn't invite me to Puerto Rico? And I immediately told her, oh, it wasn't my trip. Like, even though I had invited Pick Me, I did that because like I knew this is something she needed, like, you know, this is something she needed, and I didn't want to be that person where I'm like having a +1 and a +2 and a +3. Like, so I told Homie Hopper like, oh, you know, it's not really my trip. I just, you know, wanted Pick Me to come because I thought she would, you know, look forward to the trip and stuff. And then Homie Hopper was like, oh, like, why didn't the birthday boy invite me? And I'm like, does the birthday boy have titties? Does the birthday boy have yan? Like, if the birthday boy wanted to invite you, the birthday boy would have invited you. I mean, he has your Snapchat, he has your Instagram, I think he has your phone number, I don't know. But if he wanted to, he would. Throughout like me preparing for this trip, there'll be just little comments here and there about the trip, but then she would always pass it off as a joke. It's sounding like you actually have some sort of, you know, feelings towards me going on this trip. I remember at this time, me and Pick Me, we decided to DoorDash so we can have extra funds to go to Puerto Rico. We would be, you know, on a call like door dashing because it was more fun. I remember a situation had occurred where Pick Me, I'm on the call with her and she's like, bro, like, why is Homie Hopper telling me she doesn't know anything about the trip? Mind you, Homie Hopper knows about the trip. Homie Hopper has been making, you know, little sly comments here and there. So now I'm confused. And Pick Me begins to tell me, so basically Homie Hopper had swiped up or something, or like messaged her and was like, why are you door dashing so much? Like, what's going on? And Pick Me was like, oh, for the trip. And Homie Hopper is like, what trip? And mind you, every comment that Homie Hopper had made, even like the interactions I had with Dumbo and Homie Hopper in the kitchen, and Sassy and Homie Hopper in the kitchen, I would always update Pick Me because Pick Me, like, to me was like my ride or die. Like, that was my best friend, but there was really no label to it yet, but that was my friend, you know? So I would always update her. So for Homie Hopper to come and then tell Pick Me like, oh, what trip? Like, I don't know about any trip. And she knows that I'm taking Pick Me, so why are you acting weird? So Pick Me is literally like, oh, the Puerto Rico trip that I'm going with Lucy, like, you know, she told me that she told you. And then Homie Hopper's like, she never told me, like, I don't know what this girl is talking about, I don't know what trip you're talking about. And as she's telling me this, I'm like, that's so weird, like, that's a weird thing to lie about. And I remember I had even updated like the birthday boy, like, Homie Hopper's acting weird, I don't know why she's acting like that. And you know, the birthday boy is giving the benefit of the doubt, oh, maybe, you know, she didn't mean it like that. I was like, I know what she meant, so she's weird. I also remember Pick Me even messaging me during this time and like telling me, bro, like, I feel like a lot of people know about this trip and we haven't even told them, you know, like, it's just roommates, Sassy and Dumbo, but it just felt like a lot more people knew for no reason. So I remember she had texted me that, and then finally we went on the trip around like late October. First we went to Atlanta and then we flew from Atlanta to Puerto Rico. The trip was fun. There was a situation where this guy, we're gonna call him Lawyer. So this guy, Lawyer, he pretty much like fancied Pick Me. I mean, Pick Me she's a babe, she's a beautiful girl. So he pretty much fancied Pick Me and he kept trying to, you know, get with Pick Me, like, you know, give me a chance, all that stuff. And at the stage that, or a phase or whatever, that Pick Me was at, she was not really looking for anything. And I also remember she would come to me and be like, oh, like, Lawyer keeps flirting with me and stuff like that and I'm not really into him, and I've been telling him like I'm not really into him. Like, she would tell me like he's trying to, you know, tell her to give her a chance, and she's like, no, I'm not really looking for a relationship or anything like that. And then he would be like, oh, like, you know, what if we're just like casual? And then she's like, no, like, I'm not really looking for that either, like, I just want to be friends. So she would be telling me, you know, she's not interested in this guy's not really, you know, her type, like all that stuff. But then we would go to the club and then she would be dancing on the guy, or the guy would flirt with her and she would like entertain it. So it's like things like that where I'm noticing, I'm observing, and then you're behind the scenes, you're telling me something different, but I'm seeing something different. When we're talking about the situation, I remember we're in the bathroom in Puerto Rico. We're talking about the situation and I basically tell her, you know, like, I feel like it's a pattern at this point. Like, you're claiming that, you know, this guy likes you and you're not really interested, but I feel like you're still entertaining him to some extent. So of course it's going to give him the idea that, you know, he has a chance with you and stuff like that. Like, you can't do stuff like that, especially like in this new friend group where the dynamics are like different. Maybe I was out of line. I don't know. I'm the type of person that, like, I will be honest with how I feel. If I think, you know, you're not doing something right, I will voice it. If I'm wrong, you correct me and I apologize. That's how I am. And I remember we had gone to the club and I was sitting like in the back seat with Pick Me, and she was opening up to me and she was telling me, you know, like when we were in the bathroom and you were telling me, you know, all that stuff about me entertaining this guy that, you know, I don't really like that really hurt my feelings because it felt like you were just blaming me for him, you know, pursuing me when I wasn't interested. And I was like, damn, like I can see that, like, damn, like I'm really sorry, like that was not my intention. I think I overstepped, like I'm really, really sorry. And she's like, you know, it's okay, but yeah, I just really, really hurt my feelings. That was really not my intention. Like I messed up. I'm so sorry. And I even remember like we had a heart-to-heart in the bathroom. I had a makeup wipe and I had wiped like her makeup off and we just had like that intimate like friend moment, you know? I thought everything was okay. Like I messed up. She held me accountable. I apologized and I thought everything was okay. We come back from Puerto Rico and at the time there was like an afronight event happening. This afronight event was on November 5th. Ooh, yeah. I almost forgot an important detail. Okay, so when we came back, right, Pick Me had told me a situation where Dumbo had messaged her and was basically just being really shady towards me. Dumbo had messaged her on Snapchat and basically he had seen that I had gone to Atlanta and Puerto Rico for my friend's birthday. Well, then he was like, wow, like Lucy went to Atlanta and Puerto Rico for, you know, so-and-so's birthday, but she couldn't even drive 15 minutes to mine. And to provide some context here, there was a time in like, I believe 2021 or something, where I had gone to Kansas City for my birthday. My friends came with me, supported me, celebrated me. It was great. And then I had lost my job. I think that was like winter 2021. And I was just very, very depressed. Every invitation that came my way from like my friends to, you know, like go out and to hang out, I would always decline because I was eating job applications for breakfast, lunch and dinner. I was sleeping job applications. I was dreaming job applications. Around February, that's when Dumbo's birthday was coming up. And you know, I was still very depressed. I was still looking for a job. Like the job market was just so shitty, y'all. At this point, I also felt so bad because I couldn't comfortably pay my portion of the rent. And you know, my roommates now have to deal with that. So I'm like, okay, I need to get myself out of this rut somehow so I can show up for my friends, so I can at least, you know, be there, celebrate with them. Because we have this tradition where whenever it's one of our birthdays, we would go over at midnight with like our birthday gifts and just celebrate with them. And I had specifically told Homie Hopper, you know, let me know if you guys are still doing that. I know I've been like declining like everything. His birthday comes now like midnight and I'm still waiting for like Homie Hopper to let me know. I remember, I think I had texted like Dumbo, you know, like happy birthday and stuff like that. And then on Snapchat, like I'm watching, you know, my friends' stories and I'm seeing that they're over at the boys' house, you know, celebrating Dumbo. Seeing that, it just felt like I wasn't meant to be there. I was just in a very negative space, and then I had made the effort, you know, let me know if you guys are still doing it. I'll try and come. She didn't let me know. Homie Hopper didn't let me know. So I did wish Dumbo a happy birthday and all that stuff. That's like what he's referring to. And also like during this time, Homie Hopper and I, you know, we had a conversation about it and she had reiterated, you know, Dumbo was really upset that you didn't show up for his birthday. Like he was so hurt. Like why would you do that to him? And I had told her, you know, I did ask you to let me know and you didn't let me know, and it just felt like I wasn't meant to be there. And then she was like, you know, I don't really think that's an excuse. I still feel like you should have come to his birthday. That's your friend. And I was like, you know what, you're right. I also apologized to Dumbo face to face and I was like, you know what, I'm so sorry. I really hurt you. This is how the situation happened. This is the mindset I was in. This was the mindset I had, you know, with seeing like the Snapchat stories, but it's no excuse. I still should have showed up for you. I'm so sorry. And then he was like, yeah, like I appreciate you apologizing. Thank you for apologizing. It's okay. I was just really hurt. A year later, he's now saying, oh, Lucy can go to Puerto Rico and Atlanta for someone's birthday, but she couldn't drive 15 minutes to mine. Why would you say something like that? And then for Pick Me to even say like, oh, I thought you guys talked about the situation. I thought Lucy apologized. And your response is, oh, you think Lucy can apologize without blaming Homie Hopper?
If I decide to release this vertical one on you,
why would you say something like that? When stuff like this happens, when someone has an issue with me, you need to be an adult and come to me and own up to it and tell me how you're feeling. I'm not going to chase you down and tell you, you know, I heard from Pick Me that this is how you feel a year later. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to chase after you. I'm not a track star. Dumbo had noticed that, you know, something was up. My energy was off. He had messaged me and he was basically like, oh, are you doing this whole matching energy thing? Because the last few times I saw you, you didn't really talk to me. It felt like something was off. In this situation, it's tricky for me, right? Because I heard this information from Pick Me. So I can't come and say, oh, I heard this information from Pick Me that you feel this way, because that would be throwing Pick Me under the bus. And Pick Me had told me, don't tell him you heard it from me. This is the most immature friend group I was in. Now I have to come up with another reason for why I'm upset. And I picked the most just foolish reason. Clearly I'm not upset with it, but I have to sell it. I have to make sure like he really believes that this is the reason I'm upset, so he can then feel free to open up to me and tell me what, you know, his deal is. And it worked. And then that's when he opened up to me and he was like, oh, you know, it's just this silly situation that happened and I made this silly comment. Now it's a silly comment. I made this silly comment and I didn't mean it. And then now I'm in the situation where like you were harboring these feelings from like a year ago. So now I have to make sure I'm apologizing in text, and not only that, I am making sure I'm not mentioning anybody. I'm not mentioning homie hopper. I'm not mentioning nobody. And then he was like, oh, it's okay now. We're all adults. Let's move on, all that stuff. And it's so funny, like looking back at the situation, like it's just the hypocrisy for me, honestly. Like it's laughable. Like I said, when we came back, it was afronight and it was being hosted by the African Caribbean Association. And then homie hopper had actually been on like the exec board, and she had been planning the after party at her house for a few months. So she was really looking forward to it. She was excited. So after the event, we came back and we're trying to like prep for the after party. During this whole ordeal, Brown keeps making all these negative comments. If you have this party, there's going to be too many people and your floor is going to cave in. If you have this party, the cops are going to show up at your house and, I don't know, arrest all of us or something. If you have this party, there's going to be so many people that show up and it's just going to be too much of a headache and it's going to be awful and all that stuff. And then he would be like, you know, there's people from Kansas City coming. So why did I do my hand like that? Okay. It's just going to be too crazy. Like, don't have this party, don't have this party. So he's just being like a negative Nancy the whole time. And homie hopper, she's becoming, you know, physically upset. Like, this is something I've been planning. This is something I've been looking forward to. And then I have my friend all of a sudden the night of just telling me all the negative things that could go wrong, just making me feel like I should cancel the party. As this is going on, you know, she's being comforted and Sassy's telling her, just ignore him, go ahead and throw the party, like it's fine, whatever happens happens. She's past the point of whatever happens happens. The party ends up being canceled. Around this time too, that's when I had met Delusional and we were hitting it off, and mainly because like he does music, I do music, so we hit it off pretty well and we were just like chatting the whole time, and you know, he had banter, I had banter. It was a good night. It was a good night. And then we ended up moving the after party to another friend's house and just had like an intimate kickback, which was a great time. I was kind of attached to the hip with Delusional. Like, we were hanging out the entire kickback. I remember I had even walked him to his car. During this night too, we like exchanged phone numbers, and in the car, like I'm sitting in the passenger seat, he's sitting, you know, in the driver's seat, and we're just continuing to talk and talk and talk. Then the next day, I think I was running errands with homie hopper, and then that's when Delusional had texted me, and you know, he tried to rizz me up. Looking back, that shit was not cute. And why did I think like he was actually killing it? Like, having a crush on somebody, you excuse too much. I was very foolish. City girls, forgive me. First phone call that we literally had, we talked for like 5 or 7 hours. That's insane. What are we talking about for 5 to 7 hours? And then we started texting after that, like almost every single day. Like, you will see the text messages popping up. You can pause the video to read the text messages. Oh, I forgot to mention something very important. Okay, so rewind a little bit. During the after night, Sassy needed to go get a hookah. During the after night, after party, kickback, you know, at the friend's house, Sassy needed to go get the hookah at his house. Pick Me had gone with Sassy because Pick Me and Sassy were like kind of like talking and messing around at this point, and they had been messing around for pretty much like a year. So she went with him to the house, and she was supposed to stay in the car, but I think she needed to pee or something, so she decided to actually go to the boy's house. And she enters and she sees Brown with the girls from Kansas City, you know, just chilling and vibing. And then that's when it clicks. the reason why Brown kept saying, you know, all these negative things were going to happen was because he wanted to get some alone time with the girls from Kansas City. So when she sees that, Sassy is now mad at her because she was supposed to be in the car, but now she knows this information. Brown is mad at Sassy because why is your girl not in the car? When they get back into the car, Sassy's basically very irritated that she had come in to the house and she wasn't supposed to. Pick Me is like, bro, like, what are you doing? And Sassy's like, don't tell the girls. The first thing that Sassy did when she got back to the kickback was tell the girls. And you know, we're putting two and two together like, wow, like that's the reason why Brown had wanted the party to be canceled. And Sassy had also learned like during the car ride that Brown had already canceled the party way before we did. He had already started telling people that the party was canceled. Mind you, he was not the one throwing the party. The party was not at his house, but he needed the party to be canceled so the Kansas City girls would not have somewhere to go and, you know, party. Instead, would be looking, you know, for something to do, and that's something to do is vibing with him. Thank you. Put it together. Put it together. I remember Homie Hopper just being very upset, as she should. Very valid. Very upset, you know, at the boys. Like, how could you guys do that? Because all of them knew. I think they ended up apologizing to her, but it was just, honestly, I think the apology was whack, but that's just me. And she ends up forgiving them. So fast forward now to what I was talking about. Delusional and I getting to know each other, you know, talking almost every single day on the phone, texting, falling asleep on the phone as well. And he started doing this very weird thing where he would always try and move like our conversation to Snapchat. Every single time this man would mention, oh, time to go to Snapchat now. Oh, you know, you're forgetting that we're supposed to be talking on Snapchat. Around this time, what's her name even? Pick Me was also realizing, you know what? I feel like it's time to like end things with Sassy, because throughout, I think they had been talking for like a year, but throughout the year they had been talking, he had never taken her on a date. He had taken her to the bedroom, but not on a date. Like, he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing, and she finally realized that. And in the past, like, I've stood up for my girl. I told Sassy, if you don't want to pursue this girl, if you don't want to take her out, leave her alone. And Pick Me knew about this, and anytime we would talk about Sassy, I would always tell her, you deserve better. I was really happy that she was finally realizing that, and she decided that she was going to have a conversation with him and end things. And around this time too, like I said, I'm talking to Delusional, you know, we're getting to know each other, everything's good, and then something weird happens. So with us getting to know each other, I had opened up to Delusional. I told him about the guys I used to talk to. I told him about, you know, a little bit about like my family life, a little bit about like the activities I'm into, you know, like I play Fortnite, I like to sing, I like to write songs. And he had randomly like messaged me on Snapchat, and he was like, how come you never told me about you and Brown? And as for some context, in the past, I had messed with Brown, and this was in like 2021. And Brown and I never liked each other. So I was so confused why he was all of a sudden like bringing it up. But it made sense because Delusional is Sassy's like childhood friend. Sassy in the past, he had been trying to like put two and two together about who I had messed with, because we had gone to this one party, and after the party, like, Brown had come over, and then when I was hanging out with Homie Hopper and Sassy, he had noticed like hickeys on my neck. Sorry family, sorry if you're watching this, I have to expose myself to tell the truth as well. But he had noticed that, so ever since that day, he was trying to put two and two together, and it got to the point when he had put two and two together, and he kept asking me, oh, was it Brown? Was it Brown? And I'm deny. And it's mainly because I had already gotten in trouble for telling Pick Me. So in this situation, I was like, you know what, let me just deny it. I really didn't care, but let me just deny it for the sake of not getting into trouble again. So for the longest time, he would always like randomly bring it up. Oh, was it Brown? If I confess now, are you happy? Did you win the lottery? What happens in your life? With Delusional randomly asking me that on Snapchat, I immediately know, oh, you've talked to your homeboy. Delusional at the time, he was like, oh, I was actually starting to like you, and me too. I'm like, I was starting to like you too, thinking we're ending things. We had planned like our first official date to Chester. The situation happened a little bit before that. And then I remember Delusional had come during his lunch break, and we were in his car talking, and mind you, like, I'm updating my girls. So I'm in the car with him, and you know, we're talking about the situation, and finally, like, I'm confessing. I'm like, you know what, this is why I initially, you know, denied it. So we talked it out, you know, we were okay, I guess, and then we end up going to our first date to Chester's, which he paid for. Please keep that in mind. It was a pretty good date. He ends up like taking pictures of me. which I didn't really know about until after the date. Even after the date, because Chester's had like this waterfall and it was like nighttime, the lights were really pretty, you know, the water was there, so we decided to sit in his car and we were just listening to music. It was really nice. Pick Me is realizing, you know what, like I deserve a lot better. Here is Sassy's childhood friend who just is getting to know Lucy, and he's already treating her better than Sassy has really treated me throughout this whole year. And then I specifically remember Delusional getting mad at me because I would always repeat information to Pick Me, because Pick Me was my like my best friend pretty much. At the time, like I understood, you know, if we're trying to build a relationship, I can't be telling like my best friend every single thing in order for the relationship to work. So I knew like this was an area that I had to work on and I had to grow out of. I remember Delusional had come to me and he was basically like, oh, do you know like Sassy made a comment to me, because he was very annoyed that I would always tell Pick Me, you know, what was going on with us and stuff like that. But he was like, do you know that Sassy came to me and was like, he wants me to stop basically like doing too much with me because it's making him look bad. Like that's what he told me. For example, on his lunch breaks, like Delusional would bring me food and he would stop by, you know, just to say hi, hang out, and then he would go back to work. I had even taken him to get a massage and I paid for the massage. And additionally, I ordered him food because he was telling me like, you know, he's having a really bad day at work and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, let me bring you lunch. And at this time, like I'm working too, but I decided, you know, to take some time, go during my lunch break and bring him some food. So I bought him food at Tum Tum Thai and I drove over and I delivered the food to him. And then around this time too, apparently Pick Me had been in Homie Hopper's room along with, I think Dumbo was there, Dumbo was on the phone or something like that. And they were talking about how I had gone to Tum Tum and bought this man food and, you know, drove to his workplace and giving him the food. And she came and mentioned how Dumbo was like, oh, like Lucy can do that and buy him food, but you know she still owes me like $150. So immediately when I heard that, I was like, damn, like I mean he has a point, you know, he has a point, I can't be mad at that. So immediately I got paid. I paid him his $150 just to like stop giving him, you know, chances to make slick comments like that and shady comments like that. Eventually, when Pick Me had the conversation with Sassy, they had to like find the perfect time to really just sit down and have a conversation. And she ended up like coming back and we were having girl talk, and I remember like texting Delusional and telling him how, you know, this one night we're not going to be on the phone together because I'm having girl talk with my friend Pick Me. Even like before this, he had been making comments like, oh, I feel like Pick Me doesn't like me. And I remember I had updated Pick Me. I had told her like, I don't even know why he would say that because you don't know him and he doesn't know you. And she had said exactly. So we both thought that was really weird. And then when we're having this girl talk and she's updating me on how the conversation went with her and Sassy and her trying to end things, she's telling me that Sassy told her he felt like he was in love with her and he was never going to stop pursuing her. I'm basically telling her, you know what, this man has had pretty much like a year now to properly take you on a date, to properly show you that he likes you, and he hasn't done that. You know, he's just saying that to keep you in his life. He likes the benefits that he's getting in you guys' situationship, but he's not willing to do the things that, you know, you actually want. And she's like, exactly, like I'm just wasting my time. And then throughout her talking to Sassy, she always made comments to me like, oh, I feel like I feel like Homie Hopper likes Sassy. And she made those comments several times. And you know, we're all friends, so I'm telling her, no, I don't think Homie Hopper would do that to you. Homie Hopper's your friend. And then she would give me examples like when she would be flirting with him at the boys' house, she just seemed like she was upset about it. And I would always tell her, you know, I don't really think, you know, that's what's happening. Maybe she's dealing with something. Like I would always defend her because I truly wanted to believe like that is your friend and she wouldn't do that to you. Come on, friend or not, watch you guys' back. Oh, hey. Whenever Sassy and Pick Me would have issues, Homie Hopper would always encourage Pick Me to give Sassy a chance. And you know, with us having our girl talk, I was just basically telling her you deserve better, like forget about his bare minimum, not even bare minimum, what is even before bare minimum, because that's what the guy was giving. And I had even told him multiple times, you know, to his face, like if you are just wasting my girl's time, leave her alone. Around this time as well, I had also noticed that I was being very alienated, and in the past I felt like there were situations with me and Pick Me where I just felt like she should have had my back more anymore. I was seeing the same patterns in the past as I was seeing in the present. Around December 9th, I'm on the phone with Delusional. He seemed like he had a lot on his mind. He seemed like he was going through something. So I'm asking him like, hey, are you okay? Hey, are you okay? And he's telling me, you know, I'm good. And then a little while after that, he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to bed. And that was so weird to me because we always fall asleep on the phone, to the point that like when I was having my girls talk with Pick Me, this man literally texted me how he felt like he was in competition with her. Are you 2 years old? I don't know what angle he was trying to play. I don't know if he was trying to turn my friend against me or like me against my friend, but like I'm like, no, like Pick Me is important to me, and now, you know, you're starting to be important to me, so there's no competition. That's what I told him. Then like I said, I'm on the phone with him and he ends up hanging up, and I'm like, okay, that's weird, that's suspicious. And then the next day I had texted him, you know, like, good morning. He literally did not reply to me like the entire day. The past Lucy would have blocked this man immediately. So the next day I tried to call him, also no reply. And then that's when I had texted him, you know what, like I get the memo, I'm gonna fall back. And then I remember Pick Me had come to my door. She knocked, you know, I was like, oh, come in. So she's asking me like, are we okay? And I'm like, no, I think we're okay, but you know, I'll come have a conversation with you. Then she's like, okay, because you know, you really haven't talked to me. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was wrong for not talking to her for a few days, but I just needed to collect my emotions so I can articulate them to her better. And this is the point when she decides to invite me to the Afronight's club that the group was going to. Mind you, no one had tried to invite me to this club at all, and I was literally like the last to know. In my head, I'm like, this is sort of like a pity invite, but you know, I will go, especially because I just got ghosted from Delusional, so I'm trying to see how he really treats me in person. I know he's gonna be there. So I end up going to the club. When I got there, tell me why this man acted like I was a complete stranger. He came from talking every day on the phone, falling asleep on the phone. He's opening up to me about his family. He's opening up to me about, you know, the gist that's going on in like the boys' house and how this girl was trying to call the police. So we went from that to him treating me like a complete stranger, and I was like, okay, wow. And then after the club, we went to the boys' house just to have like a kickback. And when I really realized like, wow, like this man is a coward, I decided to block him. I remember like I was opening up to like my sister-in-law about like this whole situation. I was telling her like, I know something's going on behind the scenes, I just don't know what it is. That same day I was playing Fortnite. I get a knock on my door and I'm thinking, oh, it's probably Sassy, because Sassy would come on his lunch breaks. So I go to open the door and it's Delusional. And he's like, oh, can I come in? Looking back, I should have shut the door on this demon's face. I'm like, okay, like come in. So he comes in and then he sits on my ottoman. I sit on my computer chair and my arms are crossed. I really want to hear what you have to say. Mind you, like this whole time I was updating my mate Spy, and he starts off with, first, I would really like to apologize to you. So he goes on this whole tangent about how I don't deserve it. And then he's like, basically he did that because his mom was in the hospital.
You are a liar.
And at the time, of course I'm thinking, your mom's in the hospital. You were at the club. I can't even actively out loud say, you're lying, your mama is not in the hospital. How can I come and tell somebody that their mom is not in the hospital? And he tells me, you know, I'm not really a good communicator. I'm really just... Was it not you that was on the phone talking to, you know, every single day? But all of a sudden, you're not a good communicator? So now I'm calling BS, because what are you really talking about? He told me, like, even Sassy doesn't know that his mom's in the hospital. I'm the only one who knows that his mom's in the hospital. And I'm asking him, like, what do you want from me? And he's telling me, I really like you. If you like me, you don't ghost somebody you like, nah. So what do you do to people that you don't like? I'm scared. Tell me why, like that same day, this man Snapchats me a picture of a woman in the hospital. And mind you, I've only seen like at least one family photo of his, so I don't really know what his mom looks like. I don't know if that was a random woman, but he really wanted me to believe that his mom was in the hospital. I remember, I think he had gone to the boys' house, and that's when he had told me, oh, I'm either leaving the hospital or I'm gonna stop by the hospital later or something like that. Oh, forgot one more thing. Okay, so like I told you guys, I had taken this man to a massage. I paid for the massage. I bought this man food and I delivered it at his workplace. And then I had also bought him AirPods Pro for his birthday. But when he had ghosted me, my ass went back to Best Buy and I returned them. And I remember in our conversation when he was telling me that his mom was in the hospital, I had let it out that, you know, I did buy you a gift, the AirPods Pro, but I returned them because you don't deserve them pretty much. Are you mad? Why would I come and give you AirPods Pro when you're acting like a foolish fool? I had noticed that he wasn't really doing the things that he was doing. It just was not the same. And I just had this energy like, now we're forcing it. And I had basically texted him and I was like, you know, like I feel like you aren't really being honest with me and you're not being honest with yourself. And instead of him replying to my text message, he replied on Snapchat. He's basically telling me like, oh, you know, he feels like right now he just needs a friend, you know, he's dealing with so much, you know, his poor mama, she's in the hospital now. So he's telling me that and I'm like, you know, I initially asked you this, you came over, I asked you to be honest and you weren't honest. And I told him, you know what, I'm fine with being your friend, that's cool, I can be a homeboy. He's like, oh, I'm not saying like in the near future we can't, you know, try this again and, you know, continue to build what we had. And I'm like, oh, no. My dear, I can be your friend, but there's no way in hell over my dead body will I wait for you to realize that I'm someone that you want to continue building with. You don't get to put me on pause and then press play when you're ready. I kind of ate with that. So I basically told him like, I'm not gonna wait for you. Like if you thought I was gonna wait for you, you were delusional. I'm not gonna sit around and wait for you to like make up your mind about me. Like, am I foolish? I'm a young babe, a young West African babe, you know, I'm beautiful. So I believe the timeline is we had that conversation and then homie Hopper was planning like this bowling event with like, you know, the whole group and she had come and invited me. At this time, when we went bowling at midnight, it was going to be Delusional's birthday. We went bowling and then we ended up going back to the boys' house and there was another kickback. And then soon after that, I'm chilling on the couch. Delusional messages me, you guessed it, on Snapchat. He messages me on Snapchat and he's like, oh, come to Dumbo's room. First, I'm hesitant because even come to Dumbo's room. Am I in high school? I end up going to Dumbo's room and while we're there, I'm like leaning against the wall and he's trying to kiss me. At first, I'm entertaining it, but then I stop because I cannot be this foolish. I refuse to be this foolish. And I'm basically like, I'm very confused right now. And he's like, what are you confused about? And I'm like, you literally ghosted me. You ended, you know, we ended things and then you are now trying to kiss me in Dumbo's room. Like, it doesn't make sense because we're supposed to be friends. And then he's like, I think he said, oh, just because we're friends doesn't mean like I'm not attracted to you or some stupid thing. And I was like, nah, like that doesn't make any sense. That's very confusing. And then he was like, oh, well, I guess we're back to base one. Or not base one, I guess we're back to square one. And I'm just like, what is this guy talking about, bro? But oh, all right, I guess we're back to square one. So we leave Dumbo's room. That time, I think he decided to like go home. And so because I'm trying to maintain like a friendship with him or whatever, I walk into his car and then I tell him, you know what, let me take you out to, you know, dinner, like, I don't know, Applebee's or like a very casual thing. He was like, okay, I'm gonna let you know. This man's idea of letting me know was texting me on Snapchat and he said, hey, and I was like, hey, and he was like, how are you? And I'm like, good. And that was literally it, y'all. Back to, you know, me noticing some red flags with me and Pick Me's friendship. I think like December, let me get the date. I think like December 15th or something, or sometime like that, I had texted her like, hey, like, can we talk? Because I was finally ready to let her know what I had been observing and stuff like that. She texted me back and she was like, okay, like I will be ready to have this conversation at this time or whatever. You know, she comes to my room, we're sitting on my bed, we start having the conversation. The very first thing that I tell her is that, you know, I'm really sorry for not talking to you for those few days. And the reason why I did that is because I felt like I needed time to really observe and just properly gather what I was going to say in this conversation and just articulate it in a way that you would understand and stuff like that. She's like, okay. And then I start off by telling her, you know, like I just feel very alienated with you in the group. Like I feel like there's some things going on that I don't really know about. You know, with like the club, for example, y'all already had that planned. Mind you, this girl lives in Kansas City. She doesn't live in Wichita. And and I was not invited to this thing until very last minute. And I'm also telling her like, you know, in the past I noticed that you didn't have my back, so I'm able to notice like the patterns that are happening now, and I'm able to speak up about them before, you know, they get too badly. Then she's like, oh, like, can you give me an example in the past? So I bring up an example in the past, and she was basically like, oh, I feel like with you bringing that up, you're just not over the situation. And I tell her, I'm like, no, I'm over the situation. This is something we've already talked about and discussed, so I'm over the situation. I'm bringing it up because I told you in the past, I'm able to recognize like patterns where I just feel like you don't have my back. Additionally, like, you're the one who is asking me to give you examples in the past. And then she's like, oh, I thought you'd mentioned something like last week or last month. And I'm like, well, last week or last month you didn't do anything to me. And then she basically tells me, oh, I feel like you're dumb for feeling alienated or whatever. Your feelings are dumb. She calls my feelings dumb. I don't know how she stated it verbatim, but she did call my feelings dumb. And then throughout like our conversation, she's rolling her eyes. And mind you, like, I'm calm and I'm speaking to her clearly. She's cutting me off and I'm trying to make points. And I'm like, honestly, like, I feel like I'm trying to give you respect when you speak, and I'm really trying to hear you out when you're talking, and I feel like you're not doing the same to me. But she doesn't even like recognize that. She just keeps doing what she's doing, and then at some point she storms out mid-conversation like very angry. And then I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell just happened? And even after that, I was like, you know what, that's fine. She can call my feelings dumb, she can roll her eyes, she can, you know, cut me off, she can storm out, whatever. I gave her the space. The very next day I messaged her and I basically tell her, you know, I feel like our conversation did not go well. I felt like you weren't hearing me, we weren't hearing each other. It was just a lot of like unnecessary anger. And I was telling her, you know, I feel like during this conversation, what I really wanted was reassurance. I was expecting you to tell me, you know, even if you feel like my feelings are dumb, like, don't say that to your friend. All the other times she's come to me and she's told me like, you know, you've hurt my feelings and you've done this, I've never rolled my eyes at her. I've never called her feelings dumb. So I don't even know where she's getting like that energy to even do that to me. Like, I'm very surprised. And I'm basically telling her in this text, like, I just wanted some reassurance. I expected you to be like, oh, like, you know, that's not what's happening. Like, I understand you might feel alienated, but like, I got your back. And then I remember I also told her that until we start to hear each other, maybe our friendship just needs a break. And that's the only message that she liked. She never responded to that. And then I also noticed like all her stuff was like gone from the house. Little did I know, my dears. But I think I'm gonna stop it there. Please remember that this is part 1 of the story time. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one.